Welcome on in, golf fans. It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 3 Showdown stream. Going to go over some props as well on here. Get you ready for all of Saturday's action at the PGA Championship. So if you got any questions, feel free to go ahead, fire them down in chat at any point. If you're here just to hang out, hear my analysis for the next half an hour to an hour, well, welcome on in. Hopefully you're having a swell start to your evening, your start to your weekend as well. We've got a little Crown and Coke in the cup. We played a little bit of golf today with the buddies up there at one of the more unique tracks in Florida. So hopefully you're also having a pretty solid start to the weekend and are ready to go out there and crush tomorrow's slate. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start taking a look at today's action, a little review, which let me know if you had the bingo square for only a 2.8 under par scoring average. It's worth noting, right? I questioned the chat yesterday, right? Asked you guys what you thought the winning score, I should say the average score today would have been, and a lot of guesses, a 5 over par, right? 4.5 over par. I think the lowest average I saw in chat might have been that 4.5 under par scoring average. So the fact that it was 2.8 over par was surprising to say the least. You did have relatively windy conditions out there. You can see in terms of the observed stuff, right? It was in the 15 to 20 mile an hour range in terms of your sustained winds early. We had the rain in the afternoon, so that contributed to how easy the afternoon played. But even this 3.5 under par scoring average from the morning was surprising, right? It was significantly better than I expected. And I think most of you guys as well, right? I mean, it was windy out there. We saw the scoring average from round 1 where it was, 3.65 over par between the two waves, and expected it to probably get a little bit worse. Here's where it tripped up, right? They shortened the course, right? They knew the wind was going to come. And in true, professional golf fashion, they went out there and shortened tee boxes, right? They had them playing from the senior tees on a few of the par 3s. They still haven't used the back tee on, I believe it's hole number 3 that they haven't used the front tee on yet. It can play upwards of 250 yards for that. So you're going to see that at some point Saturday or Sunday. I would bet my hat that on Sunday that's going to be extremely difficult, that you're going to get a lot of those back pins. But even for Saturday, after they've cut out a lot of those club pros, something to note that the PGA Championship specifically, they have ratcheted up the difficulty a ton on Saturday and Sunday historically, after they've taken the club pros and, sent them home, right? Sent them packing their bags for the weekend. We got Michael Block this time, right? Who made it to the weekend. Great story. Seems like a pretty funny guy too, which is great. But, they're all out of the way, right? They can go out there, ratchet up that difficulty. And based on some of the wind that they're expecting, I think they're going to get exactly that. So I'm looking forward to the scores. Today was probably a little bit of an anomaly. I would say that this 2.8 over par average is probably the easiest that's going to get for the entire weekend. So when we're looking at props later, that's going to become especially valuable. But even when we look at this weather forecast, right, it's not ideal. So when we take a look at it, just from the weather perspective, right, not really looking at the wind, it's going to rain pretty much all day. In fact, they're calling for 75% chance plus of rain the whole way between like 6 a.m. the whole way to like 4 p.m. So there's going to be a ton of rain out there. It's going to be extremely wet. It's going to be soppy, I would imagine, with that much sustained rain. The wind gusts are there too. You can see the sustained winds are in that 10 to 11 mile an hour range early on in the day. And if we take a look at Willy weather, you can see that's going to hold up too, right between like 10 to, let's say, 11 miles an hour for the entire day. And when we zoom in on the wind gusts, you can see they're in that 30 mile an hour range, right? 30 miles an hour there early in the morning, calms down a little bit closer to 20-25 miles an hour. Either way, going to be less than ideal when it comes to scoring conditions. And also it's going to be cool out there, right? 57 degrees early, only heating up to right around like 63 degrees by the afternoon. Which is worth noting, right? It's going to be a little bit warmer towards midday. If we look over here, they do have the temperature a little bit more stagnant throughout the day, right? Closer to 60 in the morning, 60 by the afternoon. So no real difference there. It's going to be cool, not cold out, right? It's not going to be freezing out there by any means. It's just going to be moderate temperatures. It's going to be rainy all day, kind of annoying. And I think with longer tee boxes, which will only play longer based on the rain that they're getting, right? The added length of the golf course there, and maybe even some difficult pins, which we can take a look at here too, right? They have the pin sheet out, a lot of tucked pins, right? You have a bunch like hole number 2 that are 3 from the side, 4 paces, hole number 3, 4, pretty much like your easy pins here are 5 paces from the side, which are typically on the more difficult side on tour, right? You'll see a lot of pins that are 7 to 10 paces off the side for any given tour event. Not so much here around Oak Hill. What, 4 paces? 4 paces. Now, this is a center pin over here at hole number 9, but look, it's back in that little knob. So to me, it feels like they're going to embrace the difficulty now that the club pros are out of there. They're going to get the difficult conditions from the rain perspective, right? That's going to add an added layer of difficulty. And then, as long as they don't shorten this course, right, and handicap them, right, like they did here for Friday, I think we're going to get everything that we're looking for in terms of a golf course. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a little bit more of carnage than what we saw today. But just to get it out there, right? They can do anything. If they want to handicap them, if they want to give them an easy golf course, well, they've proven that they can do that, right? They can make it almost an entire shot easier. And with rain, with receptive greens, they could furthermore, exacerbate that. Because I have to say, right, receptive greens plus bowl pin locations like you had for a lot of the pins today is going to lead to scoring, right? Like all these holes that played under par that didn't play under par in round 1 were in bowls, were front pins that you could, miss less, left, you could miss a little bit long as well, and still hit it to like 4 or 5 feet. I mean, the most notable of all of them, I believe, was the par 3. What was it? Hole number 15. Yeah, look at this. A 33% birdie rate, 26 for the drivable par 4, and even hole 10, right? 22% birdie rate. Hole number 1 was 16. Hole 2 was 19%. All astronomically higher than what we had for round 1, right? I mean, it was 9 day between the 2 rounds. And pretty much all of those holes I just listed off, right? These 3 to 5 holes, were bowl pin locations, right? Kind of like what you see for moving day most days out there on the PGA Tour. We've got my cat back here. We've got some chat to catch up on. What's going on? My little cat back there making a appearance. That's funny. I haven't seen her all day, right? I was out there on the golf course playing, which didn't go all that well out there. She wants to be in here, so I'll let her. LRN guessed the cut line at +5. I remember you saying that. I kind of doubted it too, right? I mean, like most people, I thought it would play at least 3.5 shots over par. And you were right. So, hey, tip of the cap to you. That's a heck of a call. I have to say, I think you were in the minority though. So maybe you know something that we don't out there. You got to let us know next time. Rob says, and I'm sure you will, right? You'll let us know the cut line next time. I'll perhaps have to take you more seriously. Rob says, I'm just here for the Brooks Bryson show tomorrow. Yeah, that's going to be fun. JT and Spieth were one group apart from being grouped together. That would have been pretty fun as well. Travis says, what is the strategy for Showdown single entry? So if you're playing in a single entry, you can eat more chalk. So you don't have to be nearly as different as you would be in some of the other contests. So we'll actually go through, build a single entry lineup together, and I'll show you what I'm talking about later. But in general, I mean, you still have to make pivots. You still have to take stands in a single entry lineup. But because you're not entering like 3 to 20, it's not a portfolio. You're having 100% of every player. I mean, in theory, you have infinite leverage, right? Ownership, I don't want to say it's non-existent because, like I said, you still want to get different at some spots. It's just not nearly as much of a problem, right? You can get all the leverage that you need. David says, Crown, Black, and Coke over here. Cheers to you, my man. I got to remember to drink this. That's my bad habit on these streams is I get too engrossed into the spiels and the questions and whatnot. Gotta take a break every once in a while and sip. And speaking of, I'll pet my cat over here, right? Give her some attention. She's like I said, she was traumatized. She didn't see me for like 5 hours today. God forbid. Loafing over there. What can I say? She's adorable. Jeff says the course sets up for the Canadian Bombers. I've noticed that. Svenny's playing well. Mackenzie Hughes. Honestly, I don't even know how he's playing. I feel like I didn't delete him from my Showdown sheet, so I feel like he made the cut. Don't have to guess, right? Let's see if Mackenzie's on here. I'm not spelling Mackenzie right. Oh, he missed the cut. That's unfortunate. But a lot of his compatriots made the cut, so good for them, right? But poor old Mackenzie wasn't invited to the party, apparently. Let's see. Kevin says, Justin Suck, kind of surprised being in fourth. Yeah, I played him in GPPs as more of a flyer, but he's played well at the Honda. He's played well at a few other difficult tracks. So maybe that's his thing, right? He's a really well-rounded player. He's a really good short game player as well. So that might just be a narrative to keep an eye on. Jeff says, since Bryson shed the Scully cap for the ball cap, he's been better. The Hogan hat out there. I don't even know the true term for it. Maybe it is a Scully cap, but yeah, he's been a lot better since he's honestly lost the weight. He stopped looking like a juiced bodybuilder. He looks like a regular human being now, and his play is caught up. So I don't think that's a surprise. Pat Mayo has a tiny this Blitz guy, he's got Pat Mayo on the roast 24/7. Thank you, CB. I appreciate that. And by the way, guys, if anyone out there was a part of the group that went out there and pre-ordered my book, first off, thank you. But second off, I am officially, as of today, an Amazon bestseller. So I'm over there in the golf category, fantasy sports category, golf and outdoors. I think I was a bestseller too. So we shattered all expectations, right? We were kind of going for some more of like the smaller categories, trying to target like a specific time to make it easier to get into that category. Not only did we get into it, it has sustained for over a day, which is extremely hard to do. A lot of times you spike into the Amazon bestseller list, then end up falling out relatively quickly. Well, we've been there for over a day at this point, and I went into like 8 different categories and number 1. So appreciate all of you. That couldn't have happened without you guys out there. So again, thanks to all of you. Damon said, had a fucking blast at Oak Hill. Dude, that I can't believe. I've been to a PGA Championship before, but never one as difficult as this. I'm sure the carnage is fun to watch in person. The Phil group was hilarious. Probably 5,000 people cheering on Ricky and Phil. Of course, no one likes Cantlay, right? No one was speaking to Cantlay. If he gets into contention, which honestly, after today is definitely a possibility, they'll be talking to Cantlay, but they won't be saying very nice things. I can tell you that much. As somebody that saw it firsthand at the Heritage, he's getting an earful because he deserves an earful. So that's for sure. Svensson has been solid for sure. I played Svenny. I didn't play Corey Connors. So kind of hoping that Svenny can go up there, charge up that leaderboard. He's ripping you off, bro. Stand up. Yeah, no, I know. I'm not going to, I don't know. I like drama, but I don't like stirring the pot too much. So I hear you though, Blitz. I hear you. Logan says, how many people have got all 6 golfers on average today? So you're saying through the cut? We don't even have to guess. I can actually just show you over here on Twitter. So let me go ahead and bring that up. Cut Sweats, by the way, is the Twitter page you want to be taking a look at to do so. I'll go ahead and throw their link down in chat. We'll just make it real easy for everyone here. Okay, copy, and then I'll share my screen so that you guys can see what I'm talking about too. All right. Link is down in chat for Cut Sweats. That's you just follow them. It's probably the easiest way to do that. And then let me go ahead and show you guys what we've got for this week. Okay, there's Cut Sweats. And here's the chart. So 6 of 6 percentage was about 5% for most contests, at least for most GPPs. In cash, it was lower. And in some of the higher stake stuff, it was lower, which shows you that it was generally a difficult week, right? Like a lot of quote unquote sharps play in cash. A lot of sharps mostly play in the higher dollar contest. And they had a rough go of it out there, right? The pivot lineups, right? What people were putting into the GPPs, the MME contest, that kind of thing, were the ones that actually performed the best, which is indicative of people going out there, right? Playing those pivots, right? Taking guys that are quote unquote going to be low owned. Those were the guys that ended up making it to the weekend. So first off, that tells us that a contrarian approach was most likely the strategy this week, right? The one that is the most successful at this point. Also in cash, those sort of contests, not many 6 of 6s to go against there. Yeah, under 6 of 6. Yep. Right around 5 of 6 for most. You got 4 of 6 and Neiman messed you up. You have Cantlay, Svenny, Turan, and Koepka. I like those 4, I have to say, Logan, right? 4 of 6, what most people have that, right? You're definitely behind the 8 ball when it comes to cashing, especially if you're not in that cash kind of contest. But those 4, right, especially like Cantlay and Koepka, I don't know. I like their chances there over the weekend. So I don't know. The sweat doesn't have to be given up at this point, but yeah, definitely a lot of people that got 5 of 6 that are they're going to be tough to beat, but not impossible, Logan. That's for sure. Let's talk some strategy now. So we went through the weather. In terms of an edge, you know, round 3 to me is much more about game theory, ownership than it is anything. It's a slate where a lot of people just go after the same set of players, right? It's the guys at the top of the board. Scotty's getting an artificial bump in ownership. Brooks after his round today. Victor, of course, tied for first. DJ, right? Even though he did have that little slip up towards the end of his round, you know, he's playing a lot better than most other people priced around him. So he's going to get a bunch of ownership. It's pretty predictable, right? When I'm putting together an ownership algorithm for round 3 specifically, it's been one of the more accurate historically. So it's been one of the bigger edges to be had. I've been very transparent about that with my Patreons, telling them that round 3 showdown is probably the one that you should spend the most money on, right? Invest the most into, because historically it's been the one that I've been the most successful with in just real easy strategy. It's rinse and repeat. It's cookie cutter. I really don't change it all that much. Is fade that chalk. So Scotty Scheffler, no thank you, right? Let's see, Brooks Koepka, right? Victor Hovland, right? Those guys we were pointing out before, no thank you, right? I'll take pretty much anybody else. The thought process is twofold. It's not just with the ownership, right? It's not just the fact that they're twice, sometimes 3 times the ownership of some of the guys around them. It's also with the mindset, right? It comes down to motivation, right? How they're going to play, playing style out there. These guys in first place or the top 5, top 10 of a major championship are going to try to protect that lead. They're not going to go out there and take aim at every single pin, particularly if it's playing wet, windy tomorrow. If we're going to get nasty pins like it looked like on the, pin sheet there. Excuse me. We need a sip of alcohol. That's what that means. But the point is here, these guys in first place, right? It's especially in a major championship, right? It's a little bit different, are not going to play balls to the wall. They know that scoring is going to be difficult. They know that par is going to be a good score. And it's not like they can't make a bunch of birdies, right? They're still playing some of the best golf in the field. But especially the guys that are way chalkier than the rest, I would much rather just take the pivots, right? So Scotty Scheffler, let's use him as a case example. He's 30% owned. If you fade Scotty Scheffler, you can play Rory and Jon Rahm. And you can't tell me that Jon Rahm and Rory are less likely to succeed than a Scotty Scheffler, right? It's not true, right? And I know the ownership's not exactly right twice, right? It's like 36% would be double what you're getting there, but it still holds, right? You're talking about 2 players that you can fit into your pool. You can still mix in a bunch of guys there in the 9K range, as opposed to just taking the one player. Here's the, it's twofold, right? It's not just that you can play more guys, you have a bigger net. Also, when you hit, you're only playing against 18% of the field, right? You're not going out there playing against 30%, maybe even 40% that you're going to get with Scotty and some of the higher dollar single entry kind of contests. And you can use that same kind of mentality pretty much throughout the player pool. So like I said, fading Brooks, fading guys like Victor Hovland in this 9K range, right? A bunch of low-owned options, right? Tony Finau off a bad round. JT off a bad round. And you can see they're not unowned, right? I still have them like 15, 16% owned. The reason for that is people know this kind of strategy, right? They're not immune to it. Like they know these guys are going to be aggressive. They know it's JT and he's only $9,300, right? They know that Jordan Spieth, who's already played 2 rounds, probably not injured, right? So can probably get it done. Hatton, Max Homa, Fleetwood and Hideki Matsuyama down there, right? Like, excuse me. They're behind the 8 ball, right? They're all over par at this point. They're going to be lower owned. And if anything, they're going to be going after it a lot more than their counterparts. So, you can see I'm kind of scattershotting, right? I'm taking a bunch of guys here in this 8 and 9K range. Up top, I'm kind of sticking to the Jon Rahm, Rory, and then mixing in a few Xander lineups and having a day with it, right? Taking the chasers, right? There's a few guys towards the top I'm considering, right? Like a Rory McIlroy, for example, I have in my lineups. I don't know. I guess Cam Smith at, +3 is not all that bad, but mostly, right, it's guys in that +3 to +5 range. So that carries pretty much the whole way through. There's a few exceptions like a Sahith Theegala, right, that I'm playing that's a little bit closer to the top of the leaderboard. Let's see. There's honestly not that many examples. Like Bo Hostler, right, is kind of just like he's only 3% owned. Like he's towards the middle top of the leaderboard, but he's not getting the steam that others would be in that kind of situation. So I'm getting there. But yeah, like I said, they're few and far in between. Like Minwoo Lee is another one, right? I really liked him this week. I like the momentum that he has. Makes a bunch of birdies, even when he's not playing that well. He makes a bunch of birdies. So I like him at like $6,800. But Chaser, Matt Wall. Actually, sorry, I take that back. Right, Kurt Kitayama, KH right, another guy at like +1 that I'm taking. But Chaser, guys like I'm doing it again. HV3 there. My cursor's lagging behind there. We have Patrick Rogers, Phil Mickelson, right? Guys at +5 that I have added to my player pool. Like especially in the 7K range, like there's some chalk to be had here, right? So I know I talked about the chalk in like the 10 and 9K range, but let's see, Keegan Bradley 15%, right? Corey Connors 17%. Like no, thank you, right? They're playing decently, but they're not worth that kind of ownership. Bryson's 19% owned, who also, right, huge surprise. Love it that I have him in, DFS this week, especially for my main slate stuff. But I'm not going to play him at 19% in Showdown, right? Especially because he's $8,000 now, right? He's also a lot more expensive. I would lump, guys like 10.5% Keith Mitchell into that. And it's worth noting that Keith Mitchell's not even playing that well. And I have his ownership up there, right, at 10.5%. People just like playing him. Mito Pereira, same thing, right? He's playing okay, but he's 9.8% owned. So like I'm not going to spend that much on ownership when guys are just playing okay. Like Pendrith, right? It's been a couple of decent rounds. I don't think he's worth being 2, 3, sometimes 4 times higher owned than some of the guys around him. So I'm trying to stay away from that chalk as much as possible. I do think Sam Stevens is going to get a little bit of steam there. Let's see. And outside of that, not much, right? Most guys towards the bottom of the board, deservingly less than like 2% owned. So nothing crazy down there. I am playing Kurt Kitayama at 6% ownership. Same thing with KH Lee. Both are getting some attention, but it's not outrageous, right? You're not talking about 15 to 19% owned players here. Look at this, like 5 straight players that are mega chalk here. This Corey Connors, the Bryson range, just probably best off of wooding it for some of the GPPs tomorrow. A lot of your lineups are going to end up in that range for your last man in, right? It's really going to be really easy to just click one of those guys in, especially considering how most of them are playing pretty decently. And if you were to leave some salary on the table, maybe adjust things, right? Maybe spend up for one of these guys that's a little bit lower owned. Not only are you getting a better player, but also a player that's better at lower ownership. I mean, like, look at this, right? Bryson's 19% owned, right? He's $8,000. Hideki, much better player, much more consistent, same kind of upside, I would argue, is only $200 more, and he's half the ownership, right? You can't tell me that's not the move, right? Do whatever you need to, right? Move whatever other plays that you need to around to accommodate that kind of move. So that's we're going to talk about strategy here in a second, but those are the kind of things that you want to focus on for Saturday Showdown. Let's see. What do we got down there in chats? What will Block's ownership be at $7,400? I don't think much. I don't think he's going to get that much respect. There's going to be, what do I have, 1.9% right now. I think there'll be people that play him out of novelty, but I think he's going to blow up, honestly. Great guy. I was throwing a bunch of memes down in chat about him today, rigging them on as his round went on, but I don't know. I don't think the public's going to be too much behind him, to answer your question. Compared to Connor, $7,700, that's ridiculous. Yeah, like what's Corey Connors at $7,700 is what? He's like, in terms of price tag, 17% owned, right? And we got Sahith Theegala, $100 less at 10%. Like, yeah, I think that whole range is kind of whack. Blitz says, you were a fan of P-Head until he banned you for being funny. Now you just hate Mayo. You hate all people with confident names. Or condiment names. I got you. So Mayo, if anyone's named after like mustard or ketchup, probably not your type of guy. Got you. There's probably not an extensive list there though. So you're probably just stuck with Pat there. What a really weird round too. Wasn't expecting it to be all over the place. Yeah, no, same thing here. Like I said, I don't think anyone had the +5 cut on their bingo card except for that one guy down in chat who mentioned that yesterday. I think most people were on the +6, +7 train, and especially like with strokes, that kind of thing too, right? Mark says, Phil under 73.5 seems good to you. Yeah, I actually played that in round 1. I think he went just under. So, I mean, that seems like a little bit of a wagon you can get to, but Yeah, we'll talk about some of the stroke stuff here in a second. Strokes have not been kind to me this week. Everything else has been extremely kind to me. So I might try and stay away from those. Stayed up here late in the UK to hear you live and gloat about being first place in your winner to first. I love it. I love it. You got to talk your shit, right? You got to gloat a little bit, right? If you're in the first and the winner to first. You've got Scheffler, Connors, JT, Tommy, Foxy, and then you lost Kuchar. Yeah, so 5 of 6. Wish you used this in the big stuff too. Yeah, that's a great lineup, right? 2 guys up there tied for first. Foxy having the tournament of his life. Good brag. Little humble brag from Paul down there in chat. Smoking us down there in the first winner to first. Favorite 2 plays? Great question. Summarize it up. Oh boy. It's like Rahm and Rory. Obvious answers there. We're going to avoid that though. I'm going to say Cam Smith, my number 1 play tomorrow. It comes down to ownership. One of the lower owned guys there in that 9K range. He's going to be aggressive and he can get nuclear hot with the putter, right? And in Showdown, that's kind of what we're looking for. So his avenue to success is very clear to us, right? And it's extremely possible for Cameron Smith. So I like him at $9,200. Let's do a value play, right? For our second one. It's Denny McCarthy. Same exact argument. Denny McCarthy, another player that's capable of getting nuclear hot with the putter. The ball striking is going to have to be there at this difficult kind of golf course, but he's $7,200. He's unowned, right? So it's Denny McCarthy and it's Cam Smith, and it's for the same reason that those two can just get so hot with the putter that it doesn't matter how the rest of the game is trending, right? They go out there, they gain 4 or 5 strokes with the putter tomorrow, which both of them do. I don't want to say on a regular basis, but like maybe every other event, they go out there and they have that kind of performance and book it, right? They're going to get to that optimal lineup, right? With how difficult this golf course is in general. So great question. And those 2 putters would be my answer. Block under strokes. Yeah, I heard he was at like 74 strokes. I mean, I don't think he's going to play great. I think he's going to kind of blow up, but like 4 over par from a 50-50 perspective. Like, yeah, I think I'm with you. Par 3 strokes are up. Interesting. I haven't seen those in a while. I kind of like that. Call you crazy, but you're liking Connors under 72 strokes and Block under 75.5. He's 75.5. Oh, I thought he was 74. 75.5 is disrespectful. Okay. I definitely might have to dabble a little ownership on that, a little exposure on that side. Can you give us a 5-man card for Patreon members on Underdog? Yeah, I mean, today, right, I think I put out 14 props on Underdog, right? You could have just taken 5 of those and put them in a thing. Yeah, if you need anything like that, Marco, if you're ever wanting just like specific slip advice, right, like who I would take in certain situations, just throw it down in the Patreon. Sorry, say in the Discord, right? That's what that's there for. I know you're in there. Feel free to do that because, you know, I'm just going to post what I enter. And yesterday it was all 2-man powers, right? So, you know, I didn't have a 5-man card, so that's why I wasn't on there. But if you do want my thoughts on that end, definitely ask me in the Discord. I'm more than willing to answer. Han says, Han's playing with Mickelson. I saw that. Bryson playing with Brooks. Yeah, that last pairing is going to be fun to watch, Bryson Brooks. I don't think they hate each other anymore, especially because now they're on Live together. So I don't know. Maybe 2 years ago would have been a little bit higher hyped. But yeah, the Han Mickelson one, they should have both mic'd up, right? They should have both of them do a walk and talk together, and they should sack up, go out there, put a mic there on Terrell Hatton, and let us hear all the F-bombs, right? I think everyone would be okay with that. Block bump down to 75. Yeah, if he's going to get bumped down, they bump him to like 74. I'm probably taking the overs, to be honest. So, yeah, 75 is still probably an under spot, but hey, I don't know. If I wait around long enough and they bump him to 74, might have to jump on the other side of that because I have to say, poor guy Block is probably in for a rough weekend. As much as I want to root for the guy, as much as I hope that he plays well, I don't know if it's going to happen, to be honest with you. I think it might be a little bit of tough sledding. Alrighty, so what we're going to do now is talk through a few lineups together. So we're going to focus on kind of my thought process when I'm going through and hand building lineups, which I don't do all that often. I mostly hand build my single entry lineups. All my 150 max stuff is done on an optimizer. But for single entry lineups, for cash lineups, for example, I do the same kind of thing. Everything is done by hand. So let's start with the cash lineup. If I were starting my cash lineup for tomorrow, Scotty Scheffler would be a great novelty to be had, but he's $11,000, right? And in cash, salary is really important to kind of hold on to, right? We don't want to spend in the 6K range in a cash lineup. So I don't hate. I mean, you want guys that are in form, but I don't think you have to take guys that are at like the top of the leaderboard, right? Like Cantlay after his round yesterday is probably not a bad idea. Hovland with how he's been ball striking it is like probably not the worst idea, but I'm kind of gravitating towards the Koepkas of the world. Let's put Cam Smith in there. Like he's been playing well enough at this point. Like a Max Homa, you can just like jam in a bunch of these guys, right? That are playing well. Let's see, Adam Scott, right? Has been playing well for a few weeks at this point. Like you gotta like that form. You gotta like that momentum. Let's throw Taylor Moore in there, right? $7,300. I mean, not all these guys aren't at the top of the leaderboard, but you're talking about just in terms of value per price, right? They call this like points per dollar, right? If you look at some of the projections out there, I mean, I put that on all my spreadsheets out there. You'll see them on most optimizers. The points per dollar of these players is through the roof, right? You're talking about guys that are cheaper than they were for your 4-round contest. Guys that maybe aren't in the best form. I mean, outside of Koepka, right? They're mostly outside the top 30. I don't think you have to jam in the guys at the top of the leaderboard, right? Like for Sunday Showdown, when we're getting placement points, which is a huge difference compared to what we're getting here in a Saturday Showdown, right? That's when you have to have Scotty, right? Like you'd have to have Victor Hovland in that lineup. Like you'd have to have Corey Connors in that kind of lineup. It's not like that for round 3 Showdown. Like I think that that puts you at $7,200. It's a little bit aggressive. Like Corey Connors, I think is just, he's not as good as these guys in the 8K range that are like $400, $500 more. So I say stick to that, right? Balanced approach. Maybe don't spend up for that $11,000, $10,000 golfer. And that's how I would handle most cash lineups. Now, for building a single entry, right, in that kind of contest, right, definitely not in the cash kind of build, the thought process shifts, right? We're much more looking for leverage. We're trying to differentiate ourselves as much as humanly possible. And we can go into that 6K range, right? It's a single round sample. You're talking about the most volatile form of golf that you can bet on. So you might as well embrace it, right? You might as well go down there and try and get some leverage and some much needed salary savings. So we're going to start down there. And we usually start at the top, but I'm going to kind of change it up here a little bit and show you what it looks like to build from the bottom and move upwards, and try and find a few value plays to jam in. And there's a few really cheap guys that I'm getting to. So as you saw on the sheet, like I really like Gsluke. He's been hitting the ball beautifully on approach for the last few months. So I like what I'm seeing there. Up towards like the top of the 6K range, we're going to take 2 6K guys in this lineup. Let's see. Burmeister. Honestly, he's been making a bunch of birdies over there on LIV, and obviously before he left for LIV was playing pretty well on the PGA Tour, especially early this year. So let's go ahead and jam those two together. Because it's the GPP lineup, I am going to spend up in this 10K range. We're going to put Rory in there. Obviously, in 10th place, I think is at a prime spot to launch himself up the board. Let's put Cam Smith in there. Let's put Denny McCarthy in there. Right? I told you guys those are some of my favorite GPP plays. And you're at $9,800, right? You could take Koepka if you wanted to. It's kind of chalky, but you could go down, maybe take Hovland, who's a little bit chalky. And I would probably prefer to go with the Hovland here because then you're leaving $200 on the table. Kind of helps out with differentiation, right? Giving you a higher chance of not being duplicated in your lineup. And everyone you feel pretty good about, right? All these median projections are up there, especially in terms of points per dollar. And you also have some differentiation, right? Sub 3% owned, sub 5% owned Gsluke. Burmeister, same thing, right? Sub 5% owned. McIlroy, right? Still getting a little bit of ownership, but not 30% like a Scotty Scheffler. This kind of lineup is the kind of lineup I'd put it in a single entry, but also probably in some GPPs. I will say that you can stretch the ownership a little bit out there. So if you do want to take some chalk, right? Like I said, you could put Hovland in to kind of round out that kind of lineup. But even if you wanted to start, and I'm not the biggest fan of this, but you could go out there and do it. Like start a Hovland Scheffler in a single entry kind of build. You can get away with it, right? But you're gonna have to find pivots, right? This is where you need to find guys that are sub 3% owned. So like examples, let's see. There's honestly not that many. They're gonna be just crazy low owned. I guess like a Hostler, he would fit that kind of build. If you're just trying to force in differentiation, oof, it's tough. There's not a bunch of guys I need that are that low owned, but there are a few in the player pool like Mickelson, right? He's going to be mega low owned. Up here in the 9K range, right? We need another pivot, if at all possible. So maybe it's like a Terrell Hatton. It's, you kind of forcing yourselves into taking like the shittiest plays on the slate, right? Like, sure, you can take Hovland, Scheffler, who have been playing really well to this point, but if you're still trying to get leverage in these large field contests, you're kind of forcing yourself into taking just like some really nasty plays, right? To try and get that leverage to the field. And personally, I'd rather be more balanced about it, right? I'd rather take a couple pivots, right? A couple guys that are medium owned out there and attack it in that kind of direction. Let's catch up on questions in chat. If you have anything for DFS, go ahead and fire on it right now. If not, we're going to hop into some of the prop stuff. Full underdog board is up. Cool. Good to know. And I know he said there's par 3 strokes. That's interesting. Hi, Luke. Do you think Rory will fire a 59 tomorrow or fall in a creek like Tom Kim? No, I don't. I don't think that either of those will happen. I do think that you're going to see some crazy scores out there tomorrow. I think with this wind, the more I think about it, some of the rain that we're getting, relatively cool temperatures, the pins do look pretty tough out there. I don't know. I'm thinking that we might see 4 over par scoring average. Right? I know we said that yesterday, didn't end up happening, right? But I've mentioned it multiple times at this point. Get those club pros out of there, right? Get those guys that aren't used to playing tournament golf out of there. They can make things a lot more difficult. So speaking of, let's hop over here to the prop side, which Prize Picks does have a board up. Let's see if they've added any more props. So they've got birdies and strokes up. Let's do inventory over here on Underdog. All 4 categories up. Wow, look at that. They are really on the ball. Yesterday, they waited until like midnight to drop all of their props. So they've got an entire board up. And does No House Advantage have anything up yet? Likely not. I have to say, they've been last for most of these. They have not. Bummer. Worth noting, guys, I started with a $100 deposit on this site 2 weeks ago. It would be at this point, and I'm up to 2.7K on here, so that's pretty sweet. If you haven't been tailing a No House Advantage, probably should be at this point. Price Picks today, we went from 250 up to 750, so made $500. That was pretty sweet. And then on Underdog, we lost 750 today, so ended up being about like actually it was like a $1,500 day, I think, when it was all said and done in terms of props. So pretty solid, right? Round 1 was kind of around like a break-even kind of day. I have to say the props that we gave on the stream here, right? The green and regulation stuff, a few of the other props I gave over there on Prize Picks, like the Jack Johnson, right? The Kisner, the Phil Mickelson props in terms of birdies, all smacked. Everything in Underdog was horrible. Like I think I hit out of like the 7 slips I put in, I think I hit one and pushed one over there. So it was like this site was, like I said, I lost $750. It was not great. But luckily we were carried by the other sites. That's why I'm kind of hesitant to bet strokes now, right? I mentioned that a little bit earlier. This course is difficult, right? Like even today, right? I played nearly 3 strokes over par, yet these elite tier guys were seemingly unaffected. But if you look at round 1, they were affected. And the reason why I can tell you they were affected is I was on the unders, right? Like today, unders would have smacked for a lot of the strokes out there. That's what I was on for round 1, right? I thought maybe the course wouldn't play as difficult as people were hyping it up to be. I was severely wrong there, right? Yesterday, I hop on the other side, right? I go, okay, this is a difficult course. I was clearly wrong. They get more difficult wins, and then they all go under. Like it's just, you can see why I would be hesitant to bet strokes for this event at this point. So we're probably going to stay away from the strokes. I don't know. Maybe I'm just jaded after the first 2 days, but like, I don't know. I feel like I don't have a good read on it. I'm just trying to be as transparent to myself as humanly possible there. 12 and a half cumulative par 3 strokes. Let's take a look at it. So 3 played a third of a stroke over, 5 played over par. I know 15 played under par. What was the other par 3? 11 played 0.29 over. So that's 0.6 over between 3 and 11. So it's 0.78 over minus 0.12. So 0.66 over par was the average for today. So obviously they have a lot of them at 12.5. I think like everyone, but maybe like Scotty, right, would be at like that kind of number. Let's see, where's Scotty at? Yeah, like 12 for like John Rahm and Scotty. And day one, I'm sure was a little bit more difficult. So maybe we can get an edge here, but I don't know. Seems like a pretty fair prop. They haven't offered this for quite some time, and I guess it makes sense, right? They were waiting for a prime opportunity. Let's see, 0.22 over for 3. 5 is 0.21 over, so that's 0.49. 0.49 plus 0.28, 0.57, 0.77, 0.89. So day one of his 0.89 over par, right? So considering that it's going to be windy, it's going to be rainy, it's going to be kind of cold out there tomorrow, I would definitely shade towards the round one average as compared to the round two average when it comes to the par threes. And if it's going to play 0.89 over, I don't hate some of these overs for par three strokes. Like they have more Kawa. Like he's not the same level, right, as a Scheffler and Rahm when it comes to those par threes. So like, they have Xander at 12. Like I don't know. I'm tempted. They have DJ at 12, or you could add him onto that kind of slip. I don't know. I'm tempted to take these overs. Let me know what you guys think down in chat with these par three strokes. They're probably a trap. That's my first impression when it comes to them is honestly, like, I feel like I might not end up entering this kind of slip, but the lean would definitely be overs, right? I mean, even today, right, played a lot easier, right? It still played over half a stroke over par, but it's just, these are elite tier players, right? Like they're going to outperform their peers. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Let's see. So we're not betting strokes. Told you guys I'm staying away from it. Let's take a look at the bogey props. Like I think it's going to play difficult. They've got guys at 3 bogeys, 3.5, 4 bogeys for Tony Finau. Like that's getting to the range where I almost want to take unders. To be frank, 4 bogeys for a lot of these morning guys. Ugh. I tend to agree with this board. That's the unfortunate part. Like even I'm looking at the strokes, right? I told you guys I don't want to bet on the strokes lines, but like 2 over par, like I feel like that's at least for elite tier players. I think that's pretty accurate because I think the scoring averages might be 3.5, 4 over par, but that's for the whole field. That's not these elite tier players, right? They're going to outperform, like I said, their peers. So they're likely going to be in the 71.5 to 72 range. So I kind of agree with it. These truly elite players, right, like a Scheffler, Rahm, they probably do just project under par. Unfortunate. I like when I don't agree with them, right? Because then there's usually a lot of value to be had. I unfortunately think I am agreeing with them. Let's see. So I just want to do a little comparison. They have Scheffler a little higher. Is Brooks at 70.5 over here? He is. So if anything, it looks like Prize Picks is shading a little bit more difficult, right? At least from what I'm looking at. I guess they believe in Jordan a little bit more than Underdog. That's worth noting. Cam Smith, right? They have a little bit lower. So, this board's a little bit more condensed, I would say, right? Like they have a higher number on Scotty Scheffler, right? It's an entire stroke higher. Victor Hovland, 71. What is he over here in Underdog? I didn't notice that one for Vic. So he's at 70 strokes. So he's an entire stroke higher over here on Prize Picks. Weird. There's some discrepancies that you wouldn't imagine, right? There's guys lower over here in Prize Picks than what they are in Underdog, and then vice versa, which, like I said, not very likely. You don't see that often from them. Like Spieth, right? Memory serves me correctly. He was 72.5 over here. Does that mean we take our boy Jordan under? I think it does. You guys don't have to sell me on playing Jordan Spieth. I have to say that. You guys know I'll play that guy any chance I can get. Let's see where we at. Vlog has a nice profile picture. Yeah, I noticed that too. Someone actually posted it down in my Discord, and I had a good laugh about it. That's for sure. Can we do Prize Picks props? I'm not really playing over there much. Played there a little bit today, but yeah, we'll take a look at them. That's up, bro. What's up, bro? Gotcha. Spieth making the cut was crazy. We experienced the whole Jordan round today. Yeah, I wasn't out there. I should say I wasn't watching while I was out there playing golf today. But I was following on Twitter with my Spieth Legion, my Jordan Spieth tracker Twitters, all those. And it looked like he had quite the ending there. Right? Had to make that last like 8-footer to make the cut. Thank goodness he did, because now he's a great showdown play. Now we might be able to play him on Underdog. Did pretty well today, taking the over on guys at 2.5 birdies. Yeah, so you probably reacted to some of the morning news. Yeah, that made quite a bit of sense. Good stuff there. Yeah, I think tomorrow might be a little bit of a different story, though. We'll have to see. I'm not 100% sold on it. Like it truly depends on the setup. Like they could shorten holes again, make it really easy tomorrow, or they could play the course to its actual length, play the pins that are typically played on a Saturday at this golf course, and it'll be a massacre, right? So like it's just tomorrow is going to be tough, but I'm glad that you hit those today, Brant. That's pretty sweet. I did enter a few afternoon cards. I took Rom to play well, took Fitzy to make some birdies. Those guys ended up coming through. I kind of wish I played the whole board, right, for overs birdies now, because like you said, they probably played pretty well this afternoon. Finau and Kepka under 12.5. So yeah, they put the greens regulation way higher. Yeah, I could see it. You called it with Minwoo for sure. Hopefully he plays well this weekend. I have him for 4-round stuff too. So yeah, hopefully it's not just a 1-round thing like her. Hopefully he can continue the heater. This is the least you've ever bet on a major. The boards have been disrespectfully underwhelming. Yeah, I've bet quite a bit today, I have to say. But yeah, round one, kind of with the unknowns, I kind of took a step back. And the unknowns after they made the course so easy today, it just like reminds me of the Players Championship, right? Because like Players Championship, they made it really easy on Friday, and a lot of us got cooked. I mean, everyone out there thought it was going to play really hard because of the winds. And then Saturday, right? If you guys remember, it was kind of nasty again, and all of us were like, they have to make it difficult, right? They're like, this is the Players Championship, right? It's one of the biggest events of the entire schedule. Like, we're not going to take it easy on these players. And then they went out there and they had a 250-yard par four. If you guys remember, I think it was hole number 13 was 250 yards and it was a par four. Disgraceful. So I might be with you here, Damon, for the Saturday stuff. If they're going to just take a complete 180 and make the golf course 10 times easier than it should be, it's hard to want to bet a bunch on it, right? It's hard to really want to nuke a slate like that. That's for sure. And then let alone, like you said, with some of the other issues with board choice. Colin did bogey 2 par 3s today, so he doesn't look comfortable playing them. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of the one that's sticking out here. Like the DJ, I don't know, DJ to me is a top 8 player in the world, right? I think a lot of people would disagree with that, but I still think he's a top 8 player. Colin Morikawa is like number 20 on my list. He shows up every once in a while. He's a popper, right? I like the fact that he wins golf tournaments, but from like a 50-50 perspective, I don't hate that. So I'm going to keep that on there for now. We'll simmer on that one. Birdie Preps are higher on Underdog than Prize Picks. A few guys at 4 seem high. Yeah, they might be. I didn't notice that at first, but thank you for pointing them out. Let's see. So like Cantlay's at 3.5, Brooks 3.5, 3.5, 4. Let's see what we've got over here. That surprises me. Honestly, I kind of like the Prize Picks ones more than. Like even on a difficult course, guys, like I don't know. That is interesting. And honestly, it's like a huge edge, right? So like I know it's 0.5 birdies, but you have to remember, you're talking about like a projection of 3. Like that's like a 16% difference, right? When you're changing it by 0.5 on a 3-point projection. Means a whole lot. And honestly, now the more I think about it, I just said that I was going to take overs on Prize Picks. No, it is unders over here at Underdog. The more I thought about it, I agree. These seem a little bit high, but we just have to find the ones that are too high, right? Because 4 for like Tony Finau. Like I know he's going off early, but like he has to get to 5 to burn us. That's a steep ask. Victor Hovland in first place. Like he's not going to be very aggressive. That seems like a steep ask. Yeah, good call for their 3B. And honestly, like Keegan Bradley, 3.5 birdies. Like Bryson, 3.5 birdies. These aren't all going to hit. Like I can tell you, like these guys are playing well. They're towards the top of the leaderboard, right? Like it wouldn't surprise me for a few of these guys, like 1 out of every like 3, maybe 1 out of every 4 to go over their projection. But if we were to take a scattershot approach and ensure a bunch of our slips, I have a feeling that'd be pretty profitable. So let's keep those on there. Obviously the guys like Rom and Scheffler at 4 makes sense. You're probably not talking about fading those kind of players, but like Tony Finau, honestly, I might just take this slip. I might throw Morikawa out of here, honestly. What's Morikawa's bogey line? Worth noting. He's at 3.5. Yeah, nah. I'm tempted to take this. Let's see. What are their strokes lines, right? I want to make sure I'm not boxing myself out of taking a prop that I think is better. So 70 strokes for Hovland. What do we got for Keegan? 71.5. Like I really like that under for strokes. Bryson's at 71.5. Maybe we take Hovland out of here. Let me see what the chat's talking about. Let's see what they're thinking before we do this. Under 4 bogeys for Spieth. Honestly, this stroke 72.5, I don't hate because I think he's going to make a bunch of birdies tomorrow, right? He's playing from behind. So Jordan's going to be a little bit reckless out there tomorrow. But yeah, 5 bogeys, a lot of bogeys. I don't know. I'm torn on that. Obviously my first instinct was to go over there to the 72.5 strokes. But yeah, the bogeys under doesn't seem like a bad idea either. JT and Jordan Spieth lower strokes. Yeah, I'm with you on the Jordan Spieth for sure. I wish they were playing together. How epic would that have been? Right, get those two together in a group. Fireworks galore. He's at 72.5. All right. You know what? Yes. I like the way you think. I am, and I want to shop this, right? Let's window shop. Let's make sure we're not doing anything stupid. But yeah, I mean, what's JT at? Is he 71.5 too? What is Underdog doing? Are they just giving me a layup here? Are they just giving me like my favorite players at better lines than everyone else at harder to hit lines? Like, thank you if you are. I mean, that's a public service, and it's just amazing. Look at that. All right. Yeah, you didn't have to sell me on that, dude. They're one stroke higher, and they're my favorite 2 players in the world. Like, cool. Sounds great. Those will probably end up getting bumped, by the way, because they are a whole stroke off. So you probably want to grab them now before they do. I still love this 20 Finau under. Like 4 birdies. Like, how the hell do they think that makes sense? I don't hate this Hovland under, right? We have the over for Colin Morikawa on the par 3 strokes. All right, let's catch on chat. Let's see what you guys got going down there. For sure, Brent. Honestly, that's the thing. Like, after you see the first wave, especially like for the first 2 days, lots of value to be had most times. You bet Spieth over Colin for the tournament before the round. Is your bet dead, or do you think you can see Jordan shoot -4 or something? Oof. I mean, it's more about Colin like blowing up, right? It's kind of course where you can blow up at. Yeah, you definitely have a chance. I'd say you're behind the 8 ball, but you got a chance. Damon says, you feel like every other major, you get boards with specific hole props. We do, right? You only got 1 today. Back 9 props. Yep. Didn't see those either. And we're not even getting full fairway boards or greens. Yeah, it was like 8 players each day. So yeah, I agree, man. I don't know. You would think for one of the biggest weeks of the year that you get a big board, but I guess not. Blake says Cam Young almost hole-in-one on the par 4. Yeah, that was that 250-yard one, dude. I'm like triggered by that, Blake. Honestly, I have scar tissue from them going out there and making that course as disgracefully easy as they did that day. Because like now I can't trust them with the tee locations, right? It's like, oh, we have really difficult conditions. Oh, well, we might make it an absolute cupcake. Remember the Pebble Beach round? If you guys remember, there was like 40-mile-an-hour winds. They went out there and they made like the course was like 1,000 yards shorter over there for that round. Like that's just, you can't predict that. They don't tell you that's going to happen before the round, and it screws you, right? If you're just betting on the weather. So yeah, it's just, thanks for reminding me, Blake. I do have a Discord. If you're on my Patreon, just message me on there and I'll shoot you an invite. Antonio says, is there any possible way that round 3 can play the same as it did today? Or is the weather going to be a main factor? So the main factor for me, Antonio, is the weather, right? Because it's raining like the whole day. Like, let's see, from like 7 a.m. the whole way to, I think it's, 4 p.m. there. It's like an 80 to 90% chance of rain, if not 100, right? Towards the middle of the day. The wind gusts are pretty much the same as they were on Friday, the entire day Saturday. In the pin locations, at least this is my theory on it, right? So the first 2 things there, hardcore facts, right? It's going to be pretty nasty out there tomorrow. I think that because the club pros have been cut, you don't have to worry about them anymore, that these pin locations are going to be a lot more difficult for round 3 than round 2. You've seen that in the past. Round 3 and 4 at the PGA have been some of the more difficult major championship rounds in memory. Like if you remember at the Ocean Course, guys, first 2 rounds, you had guys that were under par. Rounds 3 and 4 there, everyone was just hemorrhaging strokes, way over par there for Kiama Island. You're probably going to see the same thing this weekend. So I know moving day is typically a little bit easier. You see a few more birdies out there. Based on what I'm looking at with the pins here, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I mean, look at this. It's three paces on. That's ridiculous. 3 paces from the side on hole number 11. 3 paces from the side on hole number 2. I mean, that's nasty. Nasty for sure. What's going on, Harley? We have Luke. We're eating some steak in greens and like GIR beans today with the massive cash. Hope your night's going good. It is. Cheers to you, man. Good evening, boys. We got Jimmy down there. Appreciate you. By the way, Capriccio down there, one of the best prop guys to pick your brain on. So shout out to you. He hooked us up with some of those GIR props the other week, which was absolutely clutch. So we already put in the Jordan JT, right? So if you guys are just hopping in here, we already entered this Jordan Spieth prop. We already entered this under for Justin Thomas. I do think it's going to play more difficult, but they're at 2.5 strokes over par, right? If we're talking about a 4-stroke over par average, those sort of players should still be able to cover that kind of line, right? Let's just be clear about that, right? Just because the scoring average is 4 over par doesn't mean these elite tier players are going to project for 4 over par. So just get that straight. I don't hate some of these unders for birdies. I know we heard someone mention that before, like this Tony Finau is the one that I keep going back to. Like it feels like that's got to be good value. They can mix in a DJ. I know he was at 4 birdies. Victor, right? Because he's up there in first place. Maybe he's not going to be as aggressive as he otherwise would have been. I don't know. That it feels like the best value on Underdog might be these kind of props. So we're going to leave them on there on the back burner. Think about them a little bit and take a look at a few other sites. Let's see if we got a No House Advantage board because that's been so kind to us to start. Let's see. Well, let me grab that. There it is. Nothing on No House Advantage yet. And let's look at Prize Picks. So on Prize Picks, the birdies are lower, but some of the strokes were higher, if you remember. So that's a little bit strange to me. Minwoo at 2.5. Like, I don't know. Like these lower tier guys at 2.5, like that feels fair. Terrell Haddon at 2.5, though, feels like a good spot. If I'm going to be frank, and honestly, Hideki at 2.5 feels like a pretty good square. Like these aren't these lower tier kind of players, right? You're talking about guys that are behind the 8 ball that have to go after it and that are way better birdie makers than their peers, at least than their peers they're priced around. Let's keep them on the back burner. Let's look at the stroke stuff. So let's look at Haddon and Hideki strokes prop specifically, right? Let's shop that. So 72 here, and Haddon is 72 strokes. On Underdog, I believe you have Haddon and let's see what Haddon is 71, Hideki is 72. And they're at 3.5 and 3 birdies. 3 birdies. Okay. And 3.5 for Terrell Haddon. Honestly, I hate to play on Prize Picks. I'm not hating that. That feels like a good lean right there. Okay, let's keep it on the back burner. Yeah, I'm not playing matchups. Fuck that. No, thank you. 12 greens. That is aggressive. Oh, I thought you said they were at 12.5 greens. Never mind. See, fairways hit 7.5. What, they have 6 guys up for fairways? Sick. Amazing selection, Prize Picks. Thanks for that. And then a bunch of guys were par props. Okay. Where are we at? Who made the cut today that you were surprised did? Michael Block. That's for damn sure. And then did anyone make the cut who helped your team? So, yeah, I'd say like the Jordan Spieth one, right? I played him this week. JT making the cut on the number was relatively helpful. I don't know. Let's see. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. Yannick Paul making the cut was nice. Mickelson, I would say. I'm kind of pissed that Tony Finau and Haddon did. Kind of wish they missed the cut. So they would have gone out there. Not surprised, right, that Rahm made the cut. Right, he's world-class player, was on the cut line. He was always going to make it. Yeah, I would say Michael Block was the surprising one, and then maybe the one that helped me out the most was probably the Spieth one, because I have a significant amount of Jordan Spieth this week. And I know I'm not going to win GPPs with those kind of lineups, but it is going to help me from the mid cash perspective. That's for damn sure. Let's see. Do we have anything on No House Advantage? I'm really hoping we can get a board here on stream, because I love betting on this site. It's been one of the best. Obviously, I've been posting them over there on the Patreon page, but would love to be able to bring you guys some of the value here on the stream. So you're saying if you get a 6 of 6, there's a chance? More than a chance. You're one of only 5%, so that's for sure. Adam Scott 2.5 is kind of crazy. Kinda. Yeah, he's not on the same level, right, as the Trailhands, the Hidekis of the world, but you're kind of right. Oh, they just bumped up Thigala. He was at 2.5 a little bit ago. I'm like 99% sure. All right. All right. I'll do that. I'm going to lock it in, especially if I see other things getting bumped. Still thinking about this Tony Finau one, though. Haven't nuked that yet. Thoughts on Xander over 3.5 birds? Don't use prize picks. Yeah. I feel dirty for even hitting submit on that slip. In fact, I kind of want to go and get rid of it, right? Cancel the slip. But you're saying Xander for what line? Over 3.5 birdies. I would stay away. Yeah, I don't know. 3.5 birdies just doesn't seem right. What is he on prize picks? Isn't he at 3? I think he is. Yeah, he's at 3 birdies. Yeah, I would stay away from that personally. Rahm at 3. What's he at 3 at? You're saying with 3 birdies, 3 bogeys? He's at 3 birdies better. Are you saying an underdog is at 3? It can't be. No. You're at 3 what? Three bogeys? Is that what you're saying? Is 3 bogeys on? Or is it 2.5? I don't know. No idea what you're talking about. Rom says Rom at 7.5 fairway seems high. He's going to be absolutely nuking the ball in 50th. Honestly, how much do I think the rain affects it? Not that much. It seems like even today, after some of the rain wasn't happening. So you're saying prize picks for birdies are better? He's at 3? Am I blind? He's at 3.5. 3.5 birdies. Yeah, no, he's at 3.5 from what I'm saying. I don't think he's at 3. Is Rory top 5 plus 242 low? You kind of like that. Yeah, I don't hate it for that top 5. I don't love it though. I have to say, like, plus 240 seems kind of skimpy on it, but I do think he's going to top 5. Maybe look at the top 10 market. If the top 10 market seems a little bit more fair, maybe go that direction. Bumped, yeah, makes sense. I was going to say 3 birdies for Jon Rahm. Yes, absolutely. I'd be out there betting that. Speaking of, I think I'm going to cancel that slip I put on prize picks, because I don't know if I really want to give them the business. Like, do I like the Trailhand and Hideki line that much? I do. I mean, I like them. I have to say I like the line. They're going off early, especially Trailhand, but like, yeah, we're going to keep it. It's too good a value. I feel dirty, but we got to keep it. Oh, well. Oh, well. We'll keep it on there. All right. Let's go through a few more props on. Hopefully, No House Advantage has stuff up now. That'd be sick. I'd say fat chance, though. They usually wait quite a while to post their boards. Yep. Still nothing there. Oh, well. Is what it is. Screw prize picks. They'll be on No House Advantage soon. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. He got up to 3.5. He was at 3 for 3 minutes. Yeah, honestly, I would take the over at 3, obviously, but 3.5, maybe not so much, right? I think it's a little bit more fair. I think the one at 4 on Underdog, like that's a definite stay away from me. I mean, I guess you would lean under even at that point, but I don't think I'd be betting against Jon Rahm given his positioning, right? He's going to go out there absolutely trying to nuke it tomorrow. Out of the 2 waves, morning wave will be the better wave. I don't know if I completely agree with that, Antonio, just because the guys in the top end of the leaderboard are in form, right? So maybe the morning guys have slightly better conditions because it's going to be a similar temperature, right? They're going to be out there in pristine greens. but the afternoon guys are also just playing better, right? So when we look at the scoring average after the day, I'm expecting it to be flat. I'm expecting the scoring averages to be almost identical. The conditions in the morning may be slightly easier than what we're getting in the afternoon, but I do think the talent level and then the form difference is probably going to make up for that. So do with that what you wish, right? I'm playing guys from both quote unquote waves. That's all I've got for the stream, though, guys. Got to take a look at the props, make sure that we're squaring all those sites out. Keep an eye on some of that no house advantage value. But if you guys want to take a look at what I'm playing, get access to the spreadsheets you saw on the stream here, all the slips that I'm playing in terms of props tomorrow, check out my Patreon page. There's a link down below. It is $10 for the month. One of, if not the best value in the entire DFS industry. So check it out. Get my picks down there. Hopefully, go out there and cash out for a bunch of money here on Saturday. So, best of luck. Thank you guys for all the support here on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already so don't miss all of the content in the future. It's not just the major championships, right? We're covering content for this every single week. We will have a round 4 stream coming as well. So, if you're looking for the Sunday content, well, we'll have you covered there tomorrow night. And appreciate you guys. Thank you again for all the support with the book, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier, and all the support here on the channel and with the Patreon. Best of luck with those lineups and bets, and let's get this cash.